Hello and welcome to the Boss It podcast with Mark Edwards and Michael Humblet. This podcast is released every week and is an over-the-shoulder look of a frank and candid discussion between two experienced software executives, providing you with useful tips, techniques and the latest concepts to help you grow your software business in the fast-paced digital age. So let's get into it. Here is Mark Edwards and Michael Humblet.
Hello and welcome to Boss It podcast. Michael is today. You're in Belgium, aren't you? You're still in Belgium.
I'm in Belgium. I'm in a co-working space, so ignore the noise. But should be fine for 30 minutes.
So, any chickens going to interrupt today?
No chickens. Just technicians, because I'm sitting next to this massive screen, and they are. I mean, it's in a football stadium. I really like this concept of having co-working in a football stadium. And I expect they're going to try and disturb me and kick me out, but we'll manage, Mark. We'll manage.
We'll have a go anyway. Can you tell us a bit about what you're doing at the moment? I mean, that sounds quite interesting. You're in a football stadium. You've got a big screen there. Tell us a bit about that. It sounds interesting.
So quickly today, I have a YouTube show. It's called the Sales Acceleration Show. So today I had 5 guests. So I've been interviewing the whole day long with camera crews, walking in and out offices. And what they have it's a place called Ghent. And they have a massive football stadium, and they did a very smart move. The whole side of the building is only co-working. So it's packed with startup and scale-ups, and you have incredible views on the football stadium. It's very high. And actually they generate good cash, this football stadium, because they attract a lot of talent to the stadium. So it's not only football, it's a mix of business during the week. And there is some very promising startups. One of them is Intuo. I can talk about them. In 3 years and a half, they did about $1.5 million ARR, so they're like scaling dramatically. I got them in the show. I think you've met them in the meantime.
Yes,
Mark?
I know them. Yes, yeah, good guys.
Good guys. So it's been rather busy. One guest today I want to mention something about, because I thought it was really interesting. It's a lady, and she gets hired by CEOs, very, let's say, large corporates. Can't tell you which one, but really, really large one. And she trains the CEOs how to coach, how to speak, how to act on stage, and how to come across as not lying. Now that's interesting. So she did this whole story about non-verbal communication and how can you tell somebody's lying. And she's been trained by CIA and FBI in investigation techniques. All of that really, really interesting. I think, Mark, we will invite her to our show one day, because
definitely.
That's really, really cool stuff.
I'm a bit worried about that last statement, though, to teach them how not to look like they're lying. Surely they should not lie in the first place. Isn't that the right way to do it?
I'm a sales guy, Mark, so I'm saying it's not lying, it's a different kind of truth. No.
Has this lady written a book? Because I remember reading a book from a lady with that sort of background, and it was around sort of verbal clues and things related to the FBI.
She hasn't written. It's one of those people that is off the grid. You don't find anything. You only can hire via referrals. She chooses her customers actually herself. Like, no, I'm not going to work for you. I'm going to work for these people. So, and I said to her, I said, how can you be off the grid like that? I mean, you need to come to my show. And she reluctantly said yes. And she did fantastic.
Excellent. Well, I think...
So what have you been up, Mark?
Well, I was just going to say to you, actually, before I sort of talk a bit about what I've been doing, is 2 things there, really. Is interesting that, I know that you've got your own YouTube channel. Yeah. I wanted to say, why did you do it? And what benefits do you see from having that channel?
So I first of all, I think in sales, you have 3 steps you need to go through, which is, why do you need a solution now, which is my service? Why do you need it now, which then basically is, I'll make sure you make more money faster, in essence. I'm just giving you the value prop. And then the last one is, why you? And the why you need to solve before the customer finds you, because 57% of the decision-making process has been done before they meet you. Yes. So I thought I need to be not only on LinkedIn, I need to be like an expert. I need to be a thought leader. So as an experiment, I said, I'm going to make 1 post per week. So I started in May last year
Yes.
with my first movie, and I gave it. I wanted to show for the simple reason that I want to interview some people, and in the beginning I talked way too much, and then I let the people talk, uh, but it's the nature of the beast, and that actually only that doing that being on the second largest search engine in the world, which is YouTube,
Yes.
has scaled business dramatically. I mean, if you look at LinkedIn in Belgium, there is no escape from Michael being a sales expert. And it's just by doing the movies and keeping up the production. I know you are also looking at YouTube. I mean, you're making the movies and all of that.
Yes.
Why are
That's
you
right.
doing it, Mark?
Well, I think probably for the same reasons, but they came probably secondary to us. I think it's a big learning curve that we've been through, not just for me, but for other people within Boss Equity. The initial reason was that I was finding that the people that were coming to us, we needed to go through a bit of an education with them before those people were in a position where we really wanted to engage with them. Because unfortunately, there are so many myths and misconceptions that I didn't want to start with a client until they really understood, first of all, who we are, what we do very clearly, and the way that we work. Because, we've developed something here and I don't want to compromise it. And I felt that sometimes because they're seeing out in the industry people that work in a very different way, a way that I don't believe in. I'm not going to compromise on my principles in that respect. I know that we've developed something of great value here. But in order for the client to really appreciate it, not always, sometimes it did require a sort of a bit of education. And I thought this would be a good way, is that they could see us, they could get a feel for us, what we're like. We're not right for everyone. I mean, I think, me personally, but as an organization, we are quite forthright and we do what I believe is correct, which is we're brought in to advise, and we'll say when we think the client is wrong. We won't
Yeah,
say
I
we
agree with
won't
that.
say what we think they want us to say, because we want to take their money.
Yeah,
And we qualify really hard with our clients. We do
yeah,
what we call
no,
this sort of sanity check stage. So it was an education that we felt could help the client before we fully, when we really started talking face to face, they would be able to see some of those videos, get a feel for us. But I think secondary, what we've seen is that it does create more opportunities, and that's always a good thing.
absolutely.
If you've got
Yeah,
more
and
opportunities than you need, then you're in a strong position, and that's how it should be.
yeah, I
So
absolutely agree. And also just the power of saying, hey, just go check this movie, or you have that problem. Here is a movie, quickly, 3-minute watch. It's really strong.
yeah, and
It's really strong.
absolutely, and I think there's a lot to learn, because it's one of those things. It's quite interesting. It's a bit like asking somebody their opinion about music. If you ask them somebody's opinion about social media or video creation, everybody seems to have about 10 opinions each, and quite often it's conflicting.
True.
So it can be very difficult. Do a search on
Yeah.
Google and you will get thousands and thousands of different articles and advice. Some are a lot better than others, and that can make it difficult. So we've learned, we do listen to people that we trust, but you mainly learn by doing. Get out there and do it. And we've got better.
Yeah.
We have.
As a side effect, I also like that in a way you're documenting what you're doing.
Yes,
So
that's
you're
true.
building actually a visual archive, and I think it's going to be very intriguing to watch back in
Yes.
5 years to
Yes.
see like, look at this, because it's like on your phone. If you think about it, I don't have pictures of myself on my phone. I have pictures of everybody. But if you want to post something, you suddenly need pictures of yourself.
Yes. Yes, I must admit, although I'm a photographer, I don't have many pictures of myself. I
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
I have the lens firmly pointed the other way. But it will also be interesting, because you and I know in 5 years the software tech business will have changed again.
yeah. Now,
That rate
some
of a change is increasing without a doubt.
Yeah, and an effect I see because I'm doing this around 9 months. These
Yeah.
movies, I now see that some of the older movies are picking up speed in views incredibly,
Uh,
and you don't know which topic you're addressing that actually is on this moment or is going to be in the future on in the media or whatever is a hot topic because things change the whole time. So for me,
yes.
it's intriguing to see like, and suddenly everybody's watching presentation skills again, and then it goes down, and then it picks up again. So it's good for your when you have to write material or talk. When I do a lot of public talking, to see, this part is still of interest. I need to address it. Yesterday, I did a speech for 90 people at a company called In the Pocket. They design startups, actually. That's what they do. They make startups. And they actually asked me, can you please explain the whole flow in a presentation? And I was amazed. So I went back to some basics, and they liked it.
What do you see as being the most, if we're talking just at the moment about the creation of video, and I'm not talking about animated video,
Yeah.
I'm talking about people, facing the camera, what do you see as being the most important points that they need to get right?
So one, you need to have your lighting and your sound right. That's
Yes.
basic. That's
Yeah.
something I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Two, you need to, if you only have 2-3 minutes maximum. So what you need to do is you need to make it very pragmatic and tangible. There is so much blah blah already. I get really nervous. So what I love to do is like I set the scene, 1, 2, 3 sentences, a bit more strategic, and then I dive deep and say, this is how you do it. When they watch the movie, they can do it. They can do something with it. And I think that's, for me, it's critical, but that's also the type of movies I like to see.
Yes, that's true. I think for me, the other thing um, is to be authentic,
Yeah, yeah.
is to be yourself.
But your style grows, Mark. In the beginning, look to our
Yes.
podcast. In the beginning, you're all tensed and you're not relaxed. And then after a while, you might get too relaxed. That's another story. But you really learn also. I had to learn how to phrase and stay within those 3 minutes because I kept on talking and talking. And you have to get to the conclusion faster.
The other thing that I say, I mean, I sort of say to myself, but I also say to our clients, because this is so important. This comes back to communication, the whole topic in itself, more than one podcast. But I think when it comes to video is don't worry too much about tripping up on words. And the analogy I give is, if you go to have a meeting with somebody and you trip up or you mispronounce or you can't find a word and you pause for a couple of seconds, you wouldn't say, hang on a minute, walk out the room and say, I need to start this meeting all over again. I think
Yeah,
just
no,
carry
yeah,
on. Don't worry. And
yeah,
the funny thing is that as soon as you think like that, you will trip up far less often.
yeah.
And if you
It's like,
do, people
yeah,
don't care.
I, I agree. I agree.
Who cares?
It's also perfection is not real.
Yeah.
I like it to have a fault here and there because it makes it real. And by the way, that's my advice for demos. Fail during your demo. It's the perfect thing because then you can say, look, if even I can do this, you can do it too. It works really well. But all of them are focused on getting this demo of software, whatever you're doing, like perfected. And I'm saying, guys, don't over perfect it. Make sure something goes wrong so you can prove. Because the reality is people do use your software and they have no clue where to go.
Yeah. Yes. And the other point that I thought of, and I just jotted down here when you were doing your intro, was the importance of the business leaders being seen within the industry, being seen to
Yeah.
clients, and having that figurehead. And
Yeah.
videos are a great way of doing that.
Yeah, but it's funny when you post, I have it especially on LinkedIn. People come to me and say, Michael, you're all over the place. You're doing so well. And I'm thinking, I just posted like 4 weeks in a row, one video. That's it. It's perception it changes. And I also think, by the way, on videos that people overdo the quality. I mean, I have pretty high quality videos because I have somebody working for me doing it. But
Yes.
when I started out, I just did some it's the content.
Yes.
The best YouTube channel to have a look at that, how somebody's doing it, I think we talked about it last time, is the guy from close.io. Just have a look. He just records himself with headphones and he just talks 3-4 minutes on a topic, and it's actually really, really interesting.
Do you think that there's anything specific for the software tech industry in this idea about videos? Because I've thought
They should.
about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought
No,
about
they
this a
should.
few times that I think that video is very good because we are probably now talking to a generation that have grown up looking at television from a very young age, and they're used to
I,
taking in information. And software tech is actually can be quite complicated. We don't
I think
realize
it's,
being on the
yeah,
outside.
it's it's a bit more than just television because I grew up with television. They grew up with mobile and internet. And I think the sharing concept of I'm watching something easy to digest and I'm going to share it to other people quickly. I mean, they communicate, look to Snapchat and some of these. They communicate via mail, no, sorry, via little videos. We're not used to that. I'm one of those guys that likes to text.
Yeah, I mean, my clients haven't grown up with the internet because
No, no,
that's only 20 something years ago, isn't it? I mean,
I
picking
agree.
things up
Yeah,
on
yeah,
mobile is fairly recent. So
yeah.
I'm talking to the generation that are probably coming out of the 60s and 70s and maybe early 80s. To be a software owner, you're typically a bit older. Although, we have seen some quite young people now with some business, but typically, that's the age group. So for them, it's television. But I agree. I mean, with what you're doing with salespeople, they may have perhaps that's all they've ever known is the internet and having access to information in that way.
When I like the last 3 days, I've been a lot into public places, let's say it, with speaking slots. I have a lot of people coming to me saying, I've seen all your videos. By the way, they never liked or shared them. So people do watch. And then they ask me like, can you make more? Can you do this? Can you do that? So there is an appetite for it. There is an appetite for it.
It,
Absolutely.
here's a question for you. What are
Okay.
some of the worst mistakes you've made when doing videos? Let's be honest here. Let's get
That's a
some out
good question.
there. Yeah. Do you want me to start?
One was I talked way too long, and the biggest issue I think is you can drift off. You start drifting off into non-structured drift off. Like
Yes.
in a real conversation, when you have some beers, you do that. You don't realize, but we do that.
Yes.
Yeah, we do that during the day also, and
Yeah.
that's when meetings go bad. Meetings is like this endless talking. In a video, you cannot do that. That's for me like number one. Number two, I am a fiddler. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is the proof. I am a fiddler. I kind of move the whole,
Just to
and I
prove it,
make
you fiddled and
yeah,
dropped
yeah,
something.
yeah.
That's great. I love it.
And I make crazy noises and I do these things with my face and I don't even realize I'm looking around. And you have to be conscious of your body. And
Yes.
three, I try to not listen to myself too much because it's so weird. So the
Yes.
trick is I let other people watch and decide on which thumbnail or picture or if it is good or not good because I am biased to myself. They are not. So they will make very different choices than I do. And that's intriguing because they will make better choices than I do.
Yes, that's a good point. I've learnt not to. I don't tend to watch my own videos back too much, and definitely don't become too. I hate watching it. I don't
Yeah.
like watching myself on video. In fact, I don't even like the sound of my own voice. I think most people tend to say that because your voice sounds very different to how you hear it, because you hear it sort of internally within your head. And when you hear a recording, you think, well, that's not me. You know it's you, but it does sound a bit weird. So I think that's something that's very common. And I know not to watch videos and become too super critical because I don't want the next time to stand there and be, sort of overthinking it. I think you can do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know what you mean about sort of wandering off subject, talking too much, going on
Yeah.
too long. And it is a bit like the conversation that you have with friends over a beer sometimes when you can start off on one topic and you have a few drinks and by the end of the evening you're talking about the existence of aliens and everyone's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
It gets a bit
Yeah.
crazy, doesn't it? You
The
don't want into that.
the other thing I do, and I think it's I do it in real life the whole time, but on video you see it. You're thinking, you're talking, and no, you're talking and doing your thing, and then suddenly you think about, I'm talking too long, and then I cut it off. Bang.
Ah,
So I don't wrap it up. I just Yes, subscribe to the channel. And that's something that today Peter, my cameraman, kept saying, Michael, you cannot do it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm done. No, 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 you have to wrap it up.
You're right. Because the person who does the videoing for me, she tends to hold up fingers, and I say, well, we're going to do it for 3 minutes. And as she's doing it, when I get to three, I sort of try and end it within a few seconds. And I think sometimes it does come to too much of an abrupt end. Um, I've seen what you'd said before about lighting, and actually, I should have be ashamed of myself to get lighting
Yes, you
wrong.
should, Mark.
I've been trained. I've been trained in this, and I've been a photographer for many, many years. And I've actually given
Exactly.
workshops on lighting,
Yeah.
still photography, not so much video, but I mean the principles are the same. And
Yeah.
just some of the silly things I've done: set up the lighting
Yeah.
and left the room lights on, which spoils the whole effect.
One good advice, and I'm not applying it myself yet. I'm getting there. That is, video is in the beginning hard and difficult, and there's a lot of stuff around it. The one thing that I learned is that you have to make it part of your daily routine. That means if, for instance, I'm at the office, at lunch, I have a guest coming over, we film. And the problem is, if you have to go and organize locations, go there, it's just it's such a drag. It's a lot of work,
Yes.
and I'm like today. I mean, I had to organize. You don't want to know how many people I had to phone and get it all done, and it's just. But if I would do it at my office, like on a Thursday, because I made the promise of Thursday, I'm gonna work on the business one day. I want to do my show on Thursday lunch. Just come by. I'm gonna be completely relaxed. It's gonna be very different, and then have a regular schedule. And I think if you make it part of your daily routine, it's gonna work way, way better.
Absolutely. And actually, you just saying that about routine is something I really believe in. And I just because I had to cut short the videos that we were just creating because we had to create 3 videos. I'm going to go back into the studio once soon as we finish this because this is something that we said to ourselves. We're going to make this a routine to do it every single week. No excuses. We're going to get it done. And
Yeah,
we had that agreed at the time. So I was looking at my watch and I got to my computer a minute before. But routine, I've been a sportsman and routine was the thing that was most important for becoming successful. You designed your training program and you knew at 6 o'clock Monday morning, Wednesday at 7, Friday you're doing your training and this is what you're going to be doing. And it was just getting into the rhythm that you no longer made the decision of what shall I do today or, not feeling whether you want to do it or not. You just do it because that's what you do at 6 o'clock on a Monday. And that was really important in sport, and I tried to apply that in business. And actually, you saying that made me realise that in the video I just made about getting things done, I'd missed that bit out about routine. So I'm going to have to go back and add that.
yeah, absolutely,
That's very
absolutely.
useful.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to mention was a few days ago, I had a very interesting meeting with a very successful PLC company that's grown very, very successfully over recent years, got a good share price. And the chairman has come to us and we're having a conversation about when is the right time for them to sell. And it's not an easy topic to cover, but there are some common themes that we see. And I think that obviously some of that decision is going to be based around the people that are really driving that business. And what I would say with that view it as sometimes people feel who are leading the business that they've got to keep going and going and going, even when they shouldn't. And what I mean by that is there will come a time when you're going to run out of energy and you're going to run out of steam. And
Yeah,
that's quite often a good time for those shareholders to get out or
yeah,
shareholder. But don't feel guilty. That that is something that I've sort of picked up in, recently when we've been doing the seminars and thinking back to some of the clients that we've had previously. Sometimes there's a little bit of guilt when they start to talk to you about the possible sale of their business. because it's almost as though they're cashing out and they're leaving everyone. And
Yeah.
and that is not the case. I think quite often it's a bit like having a young child who grows into a teenager. There comes a stage when you have to let them go and let them spread their own wings, and it's a similar for a business. Have you come across that sort of idea of people with their sort of, feeling? I mean, I have seen businesses that have gone on way, way, way too long.
Yeah.
They should have left it 10 years
And
previous.
it's hard to reinvent at a certain stage because you've done things in a certain way, you were successful, but the new way is not that way. There is actually a good book written about it called The Day After Tomorrow, how you should always invest partly in innovation, all of that. But I understand what you're saying. Sometimes there is this tiredness and it's letting go, saying no. I think with most businesses, if it can run, you said that to me, if you can make it build in such a way that it can run without you, you are actually doing the right thing. That could be the moment
Absolutely.
where you have to decide from, like, look, somebody else is standing up. Now is
Yes.
my moment to go.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever met an owner of a software business that's survived, because remember, 90% don't. There's a 90% failure rate in the software tech industry. I was reminded by that just last week. I was watching, there was a video by Bill Gates, and he was talking about this high failure rate. And this is exactly the same sort of figure that we came up with. It's really, really high. But if you've survived, then I bet you that entrepreneur has had to make a lot of sacrifices. Money,
Yeah, absolutely.
time, effort, lots and lots of and the hard work is not. It doesn't feel like hard work when you're really motivated and you're having fun. But 10 years later, you may not be having as much fun. The creative side of the business. Actually, the business perhaps doesn't need your creativity anymore. And
Yeah,
you
but
need to hold it, hand over the reins to somebody who is going to manage the business. They're not needing to be so creative. They need to manage the business and just really nail it down and make sure that they have great control. Maybe it needs to be under the umbrella of a much larger organization, but the idea of guilt, and that's something, thinking back, I've seen quite often. I think that entrepreneurs need to let that one go, because most of the time they're doing it for the right reason.
I never thought it that way, but I mean, there is indeed some guilt. And also, but they also have, I see two things. I see there is some guilt, but I also see a lot of thinking that the business cannot live without them. And that's something that's another problem, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that can be true, but then that's why I'm always saying you need to begin your business with your exit strategy in place, and you always need to be building the business in the right way so that it's not solely dependent on you. I mean, the ideal way, really, if you could think of the perfect business, it would be a business that was generating a lot of cash. You probably didn't have many people, because people can cause you problems, but that's another matter. And you could manage it from anywhere in the world from a laptop. Wouldn't that be great? You could be sitting on a beach in the Seychelles managing your business. I don't know how many people actually achieve that dream, but I think it can be achieved, and I have come across people who have managed. They've looked at their business in the right way, and they've given themselves the right goals.
I met one today. They could do it. I mean, it's a company called Team Leader. They're one of the big SaaS companies in Belgium. They sell CRM software. They sell to like really small companies. And I was actually a bit shocked, because everybody talks about sales going on site. And they said, look, we just don't do it. We do everything from inside the company. So there's almost no customer visits. So if customers come, we all put them together in a big group every X amount of weeks. So that's a business you could technically run from anywhere in the world.
Yes, and I think that probably to do that, they've probably remained very focused, and they've looked at their
Extremely focused.
Yeah, they've looked at the processes with the business, and they've made them very, very efficient.
So they talk to me about a lot of processes. They're really into buyer journeys and process. And then there was one interesting thing. It's a bit outside of the topic of today. We should maybe cover it next time. The big question is, where do you get sales talent? you have all these inside sales or sales development roles. Where do you find these people? And it's becoming a big issue. Do you need to hire somebody more senior? Do you need to get them off school? How do you do it? So we talked 15 minutes about process and that was a very intriguing discussion. That's something you and I need to talk about, because I think when you look at a lot of the leaders now that have a more existing business, one of the ways to grow is to start infusing it with inside sales. And then the question is, where do you find them? How do you train them? How do you keep young talent? Very intriguing.
Well, I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think something that we could cover. As you know, I had a recruitment business many years ago. So it'd be interesting to have that chat with you. But I think the first step would be for them to sort out their sales process. Yeah. And make sure they've got a strong one in place and then recruit.
Absolutely.
Just looking at the time, we've just gone over 30 minutes. So that's it, end.
What I do then, Mark, is like, if you like what you've seen, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more.
Click the link below, they say, don't you? If you want to hear more, subscribe by clicking the link. You've got to do all of that, haven't we?
Yeah. I actually don't think it's going to work that way.
No.
I'll let you wrap this up, Mark. I can learn something from you.
Well, I would say this has been Boss It. If you've enjoyed it, come and listen to it again. Thank you for your time. How about that?
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Bye-bye.
Bye.